Now we're going to convert fractions to decimals, and on the test you will have a number like this where it says -1 1/3, and they're going to ask you another way to write that. So what you need to know is you're going to separate the whole number and the fraction like that. Okay, and if it's a negative, remember it's a negative and put a negative on the outside. But you're going to separate them first, and then you're going to find the decimal. So with the 1, you don't need to do anything, it's a 1. But now you have 1/3, so you need to turn that into decimal form. So you take the bottom number, and you'll divide it into the top number, and we're going to add a 0. So you have 1, but 1's not big enough because it's a 3. So when you add a 0, I want you to look at this as 10. So even though there's a decimal there, just look at it as 10, and 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. And we're going to do it one more time. We'll bring down another 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times. So 3 times 3 is 9. So we could keep going, but as long as you have 2 numbers, you're good. And because this is a decimal, remember, you're going to put that up there. So you want to find 2 numbers on the right hand side of the decimal to equal the fraction. So 1/3 is equal to 0.33. And now all you do is add them together. So you have 1 plus 0.33. So you got 1.33, and remember the negative, and put that on the outside. So -1 1/3 fraction is going to be equal to -1.33. So all you're doing is changing the fraction portion into a decimal. And you have to remember that you take the bottom number of the fraction, and that goes on the outside of the division problem, and you're going to put the top on the inside, and it's not going to be big enough because it's smaller than the bottom number. So then that's when you start adding the zeros. But before you add the 0, I want you to put a decimal there so you remember to bring it up at the end. And you at least want 2 zeros added, because you're going to bring the decimal up, and you need to have those 2 numbers there for the decimal so that it looks like that at the end. Okay, and then like I said, remember, if it's a negative, bring that negative with you everywhere. A lot of people will forget the negative at the end, and 2 of the answers will be exactly the same. One will be positive and one will be negative. They're trying to trick you or see if you can remember, and you might just pick the positive one and go on to the next question without ever thinking about it. But if there's a negative, you should have picked the negative one. So really remember that. A lot of people, they get all those questions wrong because they're answering everything, and then at the very end there'll be 2 answers, one's positive, one's negative, and they'll just pick the positive one because it's the correct number. But it's not the correct answer if the original was a negative and you're supposed to put the negative there. So just remember that.